Hello, I'm Kevin Sieplin. I'm the President and Dean of Ave Maria School of Law, and I have two very special guests with us today. To my left is Miss Polly Cruz. She's a native Floridian from Tampa, as I understand.
That's right.
And she's also a Gold Star mother. Her son, Sergeant Robert, everyone called him Bob Cruz, was killed in Vietnam. And to Polly's left is Mr. Ken Pollard. And Ken was actually serving in the same unit as Polly's son, Bob, was in Vietnam. And Ken actually wrote a book about his experiences in Vietnam, and 2 chapters he dedicated to Sergeant Bob Cruz. Polly, we met at a Wounded Warriors Project event where the Wounded Warriors, Dale Mullen, the president of the Collier County Wounded Warriors, dedicated a plaque to Bob Cruz to be placed on our Wall of Honor here in the Veterans Memorial Law Library. And I will have to say that I feel like it's a blessing that he introduced us to you, and we feel honored to have your son's plaque on our wall.
Thank you. I feel honored as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about who he was as a person?
Well, he was patriotic, and fortunately, he was in Germany for almost 2 years. When his time came up that he had 1 year left, and his officer came to him, and I'm sure they always say, "I'm sorry, but to lose you, but you have to serve in Vietnam." His dad said, "No, Bob, you're our only son, and you're not going to Vietnam." And he said, "Yes, Dad, you went in World War II. Uncle Bob went to Korea, and I'd rather go to Vietnam than have my married friends with children go." He was a faithful Christian, had a wonderful singing voice, and sang in church. What can I say? Our only son. We dearly loved him.
You were actually in the same unit as Bob. You were a crew chief in Vietnam. He came and he was from Florida, you were from Florida. And so can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Bob?
It seemed like I already knew him. I don't know, it was just a thing we had. Both of us was so easy to talk to. We started talking and talked about our families and where we lived and what we was interested in, hunting and things like that. And I got to talking to him about a young lady and her family had lived in Naples. And I told him who her name was, and he knew her and her family right away. So that kind of put us a little closer together there, knowing someone. We had planned to meet up after we got back, and which never happened.
Take us back to May 22nd, 1968.
Well, the day before, we had a helicopter crash, was shot down in the mountains just outside of Camp Evans. And so it was up to us and Bob team to go in and retrieve the bodies to bring them back, send home. He always told me that he would walk point and carry the radio. And I used to give him a hard time because I told him, "Bob, you're the platoon sergeant. You have a man trained to walk point. It's too dangerous for you up there. And plus carry the radio. You should have a radio man and you should be controlling everything from the back." But he was that type. He cared about the men that he was with, and he didn't want to put anybody in harm's way. And he told me that he'd rather do it than make somebody else do it. And that's just the way he was. And
you came to find out that he was on the point.
Yes, when I heard the radio conversation calling back in, I knew that wasn't him, and I thought, well, he took my advice and let the radio operator carry the radio, and RTO or whatever they called them. But then after it was all over, they started receiving heavy automatic weapons fire, and they called in the commander, and then that's when I knew his call sign was 27. And then that's when the guy first came on and said that the commander asked him how many KIAs and WIAs, and the first thing he said is 27 didn't make it.
It's my honor to be associated with the two of you and to meet you and to hear your story about your son and to read about your story in Vietnam as well, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.